Welcome to your Fantasy Fulfilled, right here on ESPN The Network. I'm your host, Latasha Miles, a.k.a. Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, reporting to you once again from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., as my brother and I are in town to catch this Panthers at Redskins game on Monday night. And I'm back again like the Temptations singing Silent Night on your radio station. And speaking of the Christmas season, I have the perfect stocking stuffers and Secret Santa gifts for you. And that perfect item is my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, the ultimate survival guide for relationships and households during football season. So make sure you go out and get your copies, please. They're available right now on Amazon.com and CreateSpace.com, and I thank you in advance. I also want to acknowledge the Seahawks in their huge divisional win Thursday night over the Rams to keep a chokehold on the NFC West. Maybe Eric Dickerson should be coaching the Rams. And I also want to acknowledge the Dolphins on their road win over the Jets, Jets. And doing so without Ryan Tannehill, might I add, to keep things interesting in the AFC playoffs race, no doubt. But back to fantasy football. Now that we are in the third week of December and the second week of fantasy football playoffs, you kidding me? In my Coach Jim Moore throwback voice, and I'm going to help you coast your way to victory during these last couple of weeks of the season. Hey, have no fear. Joan Madden is here. So let's get this thing kicked off with your automatic. And for your automatic starter at the quarterback position, I like Phillip Rivers. Sure, he had a subpar performance in Charlotte last week as he returned to the state of his college roots. But going back to Qualcomm against his divisional rival, the Raiders, should have Rivers treading water in no time. This game could potentially be a shootout, and the Wolfpack alum had a tremendous game in Oakland, Week 5, with 359 yards and 4 touchdowns. It just looks bad because the Chargers lost that game, but the gunslinger has also had constant success over the Raiders, so don't fret. Rivers should also have a steady flow of productivity because the Raiders surrender a 27th ranked 264 passing yards per game, and still with no Aldon Smith in the lineup this week to help out with the pass rush, so Rivers should be rolling like a Rivers this week in your fantasy football lineup. Moving on to the running back position, your automatic starter should be Devontae Freeman of the Falcons. Hey, you've noticed the trend by now, right? During the entire season, starting running backs against the 49ers is a go-to move each and every week. It's a redundant script as the Room 1 and 12, where the players dwell in my 112 and Biggie voice team, has been the San Francisco treat all season long, giving out plates and plates of yardage. Ranking dead last, the 49ers have plummeted, allowing 171 yards a game and a plethora of touchdowns. And it won't get much better today as the Falcons average 4.3 yards per carry, and Freeman is very careful with the ball as he has 0 lost fumbles on the season. And with this matchup, the Dirty Birds could build up a big lead early, feed Freeman the ball, and that will allow more opportunities for them to kill the clock with his running game. So, set this man free in your fantasy leagues and have Freeman as your starter today. Next up, for your automatic starter at the wide receiver position, go with Demaryius Thomas of the Broncos. Over the past couple of weeks, the former Pro Bowler has been targeted a double-digit amount of times in each game, and he's averaging a first down with 11.5 yards per catch. In addition, the Georgia Tech product is facing a very generous New England secondary, and they just allowed 324 yards and gave up big plays to Steve Smith, Mike Wallace, and Brashard Perriman. The Ravens were able to stretch the field with ease, and even though Trevor Siemian is no Joe Flacco, the Patriots secondary, however, is just that susceptible. Couple that with the fact that Thomas has played against the Patriots every season since 2001, and he has averaged 100 yards per game during that span. So success waits for Thomas against this familiar foe, and you make sure you make him a familiar fixture in your starting lineup today. And for your automatic starter at the tight end position, your go-to guy should be Greg Olsen for this Monday night contest. I'm sure that Cam Newton wants to pick on former Panther Josh Norman just a little bit in this battle in Chocolate City, but the Redskins really have good cornerbacks who guard receivers very well, so this matchup isn't in the league's current MVP's best favor. However, the Redskins linebacker core isn't quite up to par, so look for Cam and Olsen to take advantage of that matchup. The Redskins are extremely generous in this capacity and have allowed close to 1,000 yards to tight ends alone, which is the most in the league. In addition, they give up a lot of points and catches to the position as well, so consequently, targets will increase for Olsen, so go send him in your starting lineup today. Now, as for your bench warmers, guys you should sit this week. You know, guys that you want to start, but like Bryson Tiller said, yeah, those guys. And here's a shocker for you at the quarterback position, but do not start Tom Brady this week. Yeah, I said it in my Rihanna voice. And this is strictly due to the matchup against the Broncos. Their number one ranked passing defense allows only 185 yards per game. And this has been a short week for the Patriots as they defeated the Ravens on Monday night. And they're traveling to Denver playing a desperate Broncos team who essentially needs to win all three of its last games to secure a playoff spot. Couple that with the fact that the pass rush from the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller, is coming off the edge, and Brady is likely to crumble like a cookie, and this is not the ideal contest for the former Super Bowl champion, who has also been in the talks as a possible MVP candidate for this season. But none of that will matter today, as Denver is now at full strength defensively, and Derek Wolfe and Aqib Talib are playing lights out defense. So Brady Bunch could turn into a Brady Crunch, and I got a hunch that Brady is best on your bench for this week. Another revelation this week at the running back position, you should bench Ezekiel Crop Top Elliott. Now, he's been dynamic this season and is definitely in the running for O'Roy, Offensive Rookie of the Year, that is. But we saw some vulnerability from the former Ohio State standout last week against the Giants. And honestly, as superb as he's been this season, his consistent 100-yard performances have come from chunks of big runs of 40 yards or more. And then the majority of the other runs, well, they've just been all right. Now, those spurts have helped his stats, but I don't like this matchup against an electric Tampa team who is riding high on a 5-game winning streak. The Bucs are winning big games on the road, too, in San Diego, in Charlotte, and in Kansas City. They're shutting down the usual suspects of the cream of the crop quarterbacks, such as Drew Brees, and they've held opposing running backs to less than 100 yards per game over the past 3 weeks, and they have a plus 15 turnover differential over the past 7 games. So, with all that being said, Crop Top should be cropped out of your fantasy lineups this week. Another shocker for you, bench T.Y. Hilton at the wide receiver position this week. Now, I know that when we're talking about Minnesota's defense, typically it's all about their front seven because their secondary is susceptible. But it is improving. Xavier Rhodes is emerging, and because Hilton gets a lot of targets and deep balls from Andrew Luck, Mike Zimmer will keep an eye on him and try to eliminate Hilton from the Colts' game plan. The problem will also be Luck having an unlucky day and not being able to get the ball out to Hilton in a timely manner as he faces the Purple People Eater Juniors. And did you see what they did to Blake Bortles last week? Yeah, that part. And Luck's success will be similar as they play in the new, loud, raucous Minnesota Dome. So you can expect some false starts, some collapsing pockets. So consequently, check out of Hilton and reserve him on the bench this week. And rounding out my starting selections as your bench warmers this week, I'm going with Zach Ertz at the tight end position. Now I know what you're thinking. Joe Madden, but Zach Ertz just came off of a 112-yard performance last week. Yeah, but look, that outing was against the Redskins, who I already informed you they give up the most yards to tight ends anyway. And he's facing a Ravens team this week at M&T Bank Stadium, where it's tough to beat them. They're wanting to rebound from their Monday night loss to the Patriots, and at the moment, they're out of the playoffs, so right now, they're playing for their postseason lives this afternoon. And I know Martellus Bennett had a solid game against Baltimore, but that was without Gronkowski in the lineup. And Tom Brady is the quarterback there, and he's a 16-year veteran, and Carson Wentz ain't even a 1-year veteran. So the Ravens defense will throw the kitchen sink at the inexperienced quarterback, and consequently, the offense will suffer. It definitely hurts, but bench Zach Ertz this week in your fantasy football lineups. Again, if you're thinking about starting these guys, you better do what Bryson Tiller said, and yeah, that part. Now, for my favorite part of the show, hey, you need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let these waiver wire studs pass you by. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't sleep since their stock is not high. Ow, as I paraphrase Outkast and Goody Mob right there, no doubt. And I'm going to kick this part of the show off with Carson Palmer as your sleeper quarterback. Yeah, the guy who played in the NFC Championship game last year is available. Hard to believe, right? But Palmer definitely regressed this season, but I like him to rebound this week against the Saints. With the struggling Drew Brees on the opposite side, this could turn into a shootout, as Brees is also hoping to get back to his Super Bowl MVP caliber offense, so Palmer will have to put up points in order to compete. Plus, the Saints defense is very friendly when it comes to their secondary. Now, don't be fooled by Jameis Winston's numbers against New Orleans last week, as they're still ranked number 29, allowing an average of 268 yards a game through the air, and they haven't shown much consistent improvement throughout the season. And with the lack of constant pressure on quarterbacks, this also favors the 14-year veteran Palmer. If you want to have the fantasy competition eating out of the palm of your hand, then Palmer's your man to put in your starting lineup today. For your sleeper at the running back position, I like Derrick Henry of the Titans. Sure, he has a timeshare coming out of the backfield with DeMarco Murray, but the way that the Titans offense is set up, Henry also has the potential for a breakthrough game running behind the Titans' smart, young, and stout offensive line. Henry should contribute about 15 carries a game and averages 4.5 yards per touch, and he's facing a Chiefs defense this week that has strengths in their secondary and their pass rush. And for those reasons, Marcus Mariota will utilize Murray and Henry, and the bonus is Kansas City is in a complete disarray when it comes to stopping the run. Tailbacks have had success in a slicing and a dicing in my Mama Payne for Martin voice, this Kansas City defense, including Latavius Murray of the Raiders, and I expect that trend to continue for the Titans' backfield as well. So, if you need some additional help at the running back position, then go with Derrick Henry. You hear me? Moving on to the wide receiver position, I actually like Seth Roberts this week. Surprisingly, the former West Alabama product has just as many touchdowns as veteran Michael Crabtree. He's still flying under the radar, although he's been a major key alert in having some big clutch catches during the 10-3 campaign that the Raiders have put together so far this season. Plus, Derek Carr is still battling that nagging hand injury, so it's pretty obvious that the league's possible MVP winner will throw the ball from the shotgun, so there's more opportunities right there for the 10-touchdown recipient to add to his tally. Plus, the Raiders, who are coming off of a loss 10 days ago, had extra time to prepare for this divisional rival, the not-so-threatening Chargers. So I like Roberts in this matchup as the Raiders attempt to land back in first place in the AFC West, and it's best that you put Roberts in your starting lineup today. And rounding out this episode in my sleeper picks, I like Charles Clay at the tight end position. Now, Tyrod Taylor has had a topsy-turvy, inconsistent season statistically, but he hasn't had a fair shot at available wide receivers, with Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, and Percy Harvin being in and out of the lineup. But Charles Clay has quietly averaged close to a first down with over 9 yards each time he's caught the ball, and I expect much of the same today in this favorable matchup against the lowly, winless Browns. Cleveland is very friendly when it comes to tight ends, as they have given up the most touchdowns with 11 to the position. Also, tight ends have caught 78% of their targets against the Browns defense, and they spend quite a bit of time on the field. So that's another advantage for Clay to showcase his abilities at this position. Charles Clay fits the perfect mold for the tight end position, so wedge him into your starting lineup today. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of your Fantasy Fulfilled. Thanks again so much, and please don't forget to go out and get my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season, available on CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is SheESPN The Network, and y'all continue to stay tuned. In the meantime, I'm going to take my Chocolate City talent and head out to the Chocolate City with my brother as we prepare to enjoy the ambiance from the nation's capital and get set to check out the Panthers and Redskins game on Monday night. And you just chill to the next episode. Thanks again so much for tuning in. We'll see you the next time, and I'm out. What's going on, good people? It's your girl again, Latasha Miles, a.k.a. Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at she_SPN and at Facebook at Latasha Joan Madden Miles. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is SheESPN The Network. Hey, I'm kind of a big deal. You know, I'm a little bit cute, got some beauty, got some brains. That way on that channel, you'll be able to see the interviews that I've done, some of the famous people that I worked with, the projects I worked on, things of that nature. And don't forget to log on to CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com and get your copies of my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season. I appreciate your support, and hey, I gotta run. They're over here calling me on the other line. I gotta manage another fantasy football league. I'm out.
Gon' kick it off there, whoa. Gon' kick it off there, whoa. Hold up, we living big dreams now. As it seems now, we doing big things now. You on a small scale, we do it nationally. With an all